We'll begin the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the July 7, 2025 meeting. These minutes were distributed to the commissioners in advance of today's meeting. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I will move for the approval of the minutes. Do I have a second? Second by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of sewage facilities planning module for 101 Sproul Road. Here the applicant has prepared a sewage facilities planning module to be submitted to the PADEP. The applicant is proposing to subdivide a tract into 2 residential lots. One lot will contain a proposed dwelling. The other will contain the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is currently served by an on-lot sewage disposal facility. However, the dwelling along with the proposed dwelling will both be served by public sewer. Component 4A of the module must be completed by the Township Planning Commission prior to the planning module submission being adopted by resolution at the Board of Commissioners meeting. Mr. Phillips and staff, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Solicitor Nelson?
No.
Okay. Does any member of the Planning Commission have a question or comment? Does any member of the public wish to speak? Okay. With that, I am going to move that the sewage facilities planning module for 101 Sproul Road be approved and allow for me to execute that module, return it to the township engineer. Do I have a second? Second by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of the sewage facilities planning module for 11-12-15 Wellwin. Here the applicant has prepared a sewage facilities planning module where the applicant is proposing to replace their on-lot septic system with public sewage facilities. An extension of the existing public sewer system is proposed to serve the 2 existing dwellings and 1 vacant parcel to be improved at some future time. Mr. Phillips and staff, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
And Solicitor Nelson?
No.
Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this? And do any of the commissioners have any comment or question? Okay, with that, I am going to move for the approval of sewage facilities planning module for 11-12-15 Wellwin. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of sewage facilities planning module for 201 King of Prussia. Here, the applicant has prepared the module to be submitted to the PADEP and is proposing to expand an existing 79-seat indoor golf and social club to a total of 168 seats. The increase in seats proposed requires the submission of a sewage facilities planning module. Mr. Phillips and staff, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
And Solicitor Nelson, do you have
No.
anything? Do any members of the public wish to be heard? Do any of the commissioners have a question or comment? Okay, with that, I am going to move for the approval of the sewage facilities planning module for 201 King of Prussia. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, unanimous. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of another sewage facilities planning module. This one is for 3 Meadowcrest. Here the applicant has prepared a sewage facilities planning module where the applicant is proposing a 2-lot residential subdivision. An extension of the existing public sewer system is proposed to serve the proposed residential dwelling units. Mr. Phillips and staff, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
And Mr. Nelson, do you have anything?
No.
Do any members of the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir. Can you please come up, state your name and your address?
Hi, Andy Goldenberg, 11 Meadowcrest Road, Radnor, Pennsylvania. We don't have an issue with this particular item, though it does relate to the proposal to have 2 houses built on that lot, and that's what we're here to, discuss. So, chicken or the egg, I don't know whether we can go forward with the planning module here.
Sure, understood. And I'll just let you know that after we finish the sewer facilities planning module,
Yeah.
We'll move on to
Yeah.
the application for land development for 3 Meadowcrest and
Sure.
have you come back up and
Sure.
explain your position.
That's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that, I will move for the approval of the sewage facilities planning module for 3 Meadowcrest. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous, 5-0. And Mr. Norsini, I will provide you with the signed, executed planning modules after the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of application 213220 concerning 3 Meadowcrest for land development. This is a preliminary final subdivision plan. As part of our consideration, we've received letters from Gannett Fleming dated July 18, 2025, and from Gilmore and Associates dated July 14, 2025. According to the Gannett Fleming letter, the applicant appeared before the Zoning Hearing Board on June 20, 2024, and again on February 20, 2025, and received variance relief from steep slope controls of Zoning Code 280-112E. The applicant is now seeking waivers on 3 issues, as I understand. Section 255-27C1, which requires local streets to have a minimum right-of-way of 60 feet, a cartway width of 28 feet, and curbs and sidewalks. Second item is 255-272, which requires private street to have a right-of-way width and a horizontal and vertical alignment consistent with the requirements for public streets. The third waiver deals with section 255-22B1N, which requires various buildings and features within 500 feet of and within the site to be shown on the plans. The Gannett Fleming letter states that all previously referenced subdivision and land development comments have been satisfactorily addressed. Also, with regard to the roadway, the Gilmore letter notes that the existing cartway width along the site frontage is 15 feet. The applicant is proposing widening on both sides of the roadway for 23-foot cartway width. The applicant's requesting a waiver from the requirement as the final width, while better to accommodate traffic, will not meet the required cartway width. Also, there's a recommendation that if sidewalks are not required, the applicant provide a frontage of adequate right-of-way and grading in a manner to install sidewalks in the future if the township deems it to be necessary. With that, do we have a representative for the applicant?
Yes. Thank you. Nick Keneally, I represent the applicant, here with John Anderson, the engineer, civil engineer on the project. I'm sure you're very familiar with this plan. It's been here several times before this board. Chew Lane is here. Meadowcrest is here. I also have an aerial that I'll hand up. I've made copies of an aerial as well. Both Chew Lane and Meadowcrest are private streets. Despite the fact there are private streets, the township has requested additional cartway, which the applicant has agreed to provide so that I believe is 23 feet on Chew and 23 feet on Meadowbrook would be the additional cartway. There are two outstanding issues that should be addressed. You've mentioned as to the review letters are relatively clean review letters, but there are two issues. One, the number of homes on a private street under the saldo, and the other is the orientation of the rear yard according to the zoning ordinance. I have provided an aerial. I don't know if you received this or not. I know it's been provided to Mr. Norsini and Mr. Nelson. So as I mentioned, we have two private streets. Radnor Chester Road is here, Chew Lane is here, and Meadowcrest Road comes here. Chew Lane comes in from Radnor Chester and then turns toward Lancaster Avenue. Meadowcrest, after it comes in from Chew Lane, it branches off into this area. On this aerial, I have numbered the number of homes on each of these private streets. And recall that the ordinance states that you can have no more than 5 homes on a private street. We have 2 private streets here. The red shows the homes on Chew Lane. 1, 2, counting the proposed new home. 3, 4, 5. 5 homes on Chew. It also provides for 4 homes on Meadowcrest. And we're actually counting the one on the corner here as both on Chew and Meadowcrest. And under that, there is 4 on Meadowcrest. Even if you consider this little extension of Chew as being part of Meadowcrest and add 1 more home, you still would only have 5 homes on Meadowcrest. So as I stated, I believe we do not need a waiver from that requirement because we have complied with the ordinance requirement, which should be strictly construed. The ordinance is clear. It says 5 on a private street. As you know, if there's ambiguity in an ordinance, I don't even think there's ambiguity here, but if there is ambiguity, it has to be ruled in favor of the landowner. There's oodles of case law regarding that. As to the orientation of the home, there was a comment regarding the orientation of the rear yard. This is being treated as the rear yard in this instance. I'll ask John to come up and explain further because he does have a sketch as to the floor plan for this home. And actually, this is really an item for building permit, but it was commented upon in the comments, and so we will address it here as well. Sure. Go ahead, I'll do it while you talk. This is the floor plan for the home.
Good evening, John Anderson, civil engineer for the project. We're discussing Lot 1. On the view screen right now, I've oriented the plan of the floor plan so that it's oriented very similar to Lot 1. As you can see on the 11 by 17 that's being handed up, the front of the building, the main entrance foyer, is pointing clearly towards Chew. I think there's some issue with regards to what appears to be another main entrance next to the driveway off of just to the right-hand side of the garage, and that's actually a patio associated with a study. It's not a main entrance to the building, it's just an ancillary access point for the study itself to access that patio area. But the main entrance is oriented towards Chew Lane. And thus it creates a rear yard setback opposite Chew, and then the side yard is opposite Meadowcrest.
Okay.
And also in the rear, you have a screened-in patio. Is that correct? Is that?
That's correct.
That's all I really have unless the board has questions.
Okay. Mr. Nelson, can you respond to that?
Yes. So It's in regards to the number of lots on a private street, and that's the issue. It's actually not the number of houses, it's the number of lots. So if you actually count up the lots, there's more than 5 on Chew, if you want to do it that way. Furthermore, the fact that you call this private street Chew and another one Meadowcrest there's nothing that says, okay, that makes them 2 different streets. If that's the case, then any, developer could come in and just start naming different lengths of road. Oh, this is a 3rd street, this is a 4th street, this is a 5th street. None of them have more than 5. In this case, there's clearly more than 5 lots on in this development. The reason why we don't want that many lots on a private street, it becomes an emergency service and safety issue. And, these streets are not designed like public streets. They're not as wide. They're not constructed to such. And so there's definitely a reason why the township wants to limit the number of homes on them. It's, I understand what they're arguing, but I don't think I disagree with it. I think they should be asking for a waiver. I think this is something that needs to go in front of the Board of Commissioners and have a discussion on whether or not this does pose a safety issue or not. As far as the zoning goes, once again, the question here is, for a corner lot, the rear lot line shall be designated as that lot line towards which the rear of the principal building is oriented. I disagree with their logic that just because we've said this particular door is our front door, that the rear of the building must, absolutely be opposite where that particular front door is. I think if you look at this building and imagine this building, looking at it from the street, any normal person is going to say the rear of that building is opposite the frontage on Meadowcrest and not opposite the frontage on Chew. In fact, if you look at where they put their front door, it actually is more pointed toward the rear of the line than it is actually pointed at Chew.
So let me just interrupt you, just to clarify, where they're saying the rear of the property is the area of the yard that abuts the second parcel, is that right?
Yes.
And if that is the rear yard, does that have proper setback?
Yes.
So if they do have the front door on Chew, and that's the rear yard, would that make it in compliance or not?
Yes, as under their argument, as they've designed the building currently complies. It is my contention that I believe the rear of the building actually faces the other property line,
Faces Meadowcrest.
or is opposite Meadowcrest.
Okay.
And therefore, the rear yard setback needs to be 35. They have 15. They're 20 feet short.
Okay. And why is it your contention that would be, the front yard would be on Meadowcrest and the backyard would abut that?
It's my contention that the rear of the house is that part of the house that's opposite Meadowcrest. That it just from, regardless, if you're just looking at the house, anyone walking by this house is not going to walk by on Meadowcrest thinking, oh, I'm walking by the side of the house.
And let me just ask, is there something specific you would point to say that's what is driving your view? As
No.
To which, okay. Let me also ask, do we have citations for the 2 issues that we're talking about now? One,
Yes.
the number of lots or houses on
That's section 255-27 point capital E,
Okay,
number 1 in parens.
okay. And then the backyard setback?
Backyard setback is in section 280-4, definition of yard.
Okay,
That's of the zoning code.
of the zoning code. Is there any definition in the code that would define, this issue of, is it one private road or two private roads?
No.
Is that an ambiguity?
Yes.
If it is an ambiguity, is Mr. Cornelia correct that it would go to the favor of the landowner?
If there is an ambiguity, yes, there is a section in the MPC that specifically says that. The question is whether or not the ordinance is ambiguous.
But did you just,
And I would argue the ordinance is not ambiguous.
okay. So your argument is the ordinance is ambiguous?
No,
Or I'm
that's,
sorry, that it's not ambiguous?
that it's not ambiguous. That it's very clear, you're only allowed to have 5 lots on a private street.
Right, but it doesn't define what a private street is.
No, actually, yeah, zoning defines it, not Saldo. I don't think there's a question whether or not these are private streets. I think the question is what constitutes a street, and
That's-
that is not defined.
That's what I'm asking.
Is the private street contiguous in this situation?
It's still contiguous, it just branches off arguably, or
Same.
not,
Same.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, put you on the spot. Do you have opinions on these two issues?
I'll defer to the solicitor in the township's position.
Okay. Neither one of these issues was identified in either the Gannett Fleming or the Gilmore letters. Is this something that has been considered and was not noted as needing a waiver or a variance?
I think this
Again,
is
I'll
more,
I'll defer to the solicitor.
this is more of a legal issue rather than an engineering issue.
Okay.
In the code, if they didn't show a house and just showed a empty property, and they put the front yard, they have 2 front yards, who chooses where the rear yard is?
Nick would say he does, and I would say we do.
But the code doesn't the code doesn't define a primary frontage, does it?
No, and the problem there is the way the code assumes that a house was going to would be placed on one of these lots. Because the way it reads is, that the rear lot line is determined based on what the rear of the building is. So, under the code, if you don't have a building on the lot, you're kind of at a loss of how to figure it out.
But it's the area, it's the yard opposite the front yard, isn't it?
Yes, but on a corner lot, you have 2 front yards.
Yeah, so
yes.
so the choice is up to the applicant?
If there's no building,
Yes.
like I said, push comes to shove, the applicant is, I'm sure, going to say, yeah, I get to pick it. And I'm sure the township is going to say, no, we want to pick it. But then Nick would probably raise the ambiguity issue and probably try to use that to say, no, he has the right to pick it.
But the code doesn't define
No,
a
the code does
building.
not, this is a problem with the code. It doesn't anticipate a situation where you have a corner lot that does not have a building on it.
But the code doesn't define a front of a house and a back of a house.
No.
It doesn't. I mean, that's
No,
your
but
your
that-
interpretation of it.
Correct, and that's normal. You regularly come across terms in the zoning ordinance in Saldo that are undefined by either of those 2 ordinances. And the law clearly states in those situations, they're defined, you can use dictionary definitions to define them, just basically common usage.
So question, right now, this property is called 3 Meadowcrest, correct?
Yes, yes.
So when it subdivides, it's going to have 2 addresses. And maybe I'll ask the applicant, what are the addresses?
Well, the one address will be, remember, these are 2 existing private roads.
No, I'm just asking what
Yeah,
the address is
it
going to
prob- I would assume since it fronts on Chew, that it would be Chew.
Has that how does that get determined? How is that application
Yeah, it's
made?
determined by community development.
Yeah, but
I believe-
the township would determine that. We would need to check with emergency services, make sure there's not a duplication, and then also the post office.
Okay, so at this point, it's undetermined, if one of these is going to remain 3 Meadowcrest, and then the other one is going to be called something else,
Yeah, I don't know.
and we don't know.
Yes.
Okay. Is it accurate that once that kind of determination is made, that if it's 3 Meadowcrest, that means, the front of the house is on Meadowcrest and the back is, would be the opposite of that?
Usually that determination would be made after the plans are recorded. So it's not like we can wait for that determination and then decide how to design the plans.
No, I just meant, is it accurate that it would be, if this other lot, the one on the corner, has an address that says Chew, then it would match Mr. Cornelia's view, and if it was an address on Meadowcrest, it would match your view?
Yeah, no,
Or
I
it's
don't think
unrelated?
that's necessarily
not
the
necessary.
case. No.
You could have an address on Chew, and yet your backyard would be aligned with what would, with a front on Meadowcrest.
Yes.
Okay. Does staff have any other comments to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have members of the public who wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Hi, still Andy Goldenberg, 11 Meadowcrest Road. Yeah, we've been here before talking about some of these issues. I mean, it certainly strikes me as trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? I mean, you look at the land, you look at how they're maneuvering all this stuff.
Excuse me, sir, could you
Yes.
please talk into the microphone?
Yeah, sure.
It moves around. There you go. Thank you.
Their plans and various versioning and iteration, trying to find a way to make this 2-house plan work. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand why. But if you look at all of these different elements, it seems like it's not really working. And we haven't even talked tonight about the lifestyle, the quality of life that we have there, which we had talked about back in June. So if you guys recall, at the end of that meeting, this proposal was going to be tabled, and the recommendation from, I think, a couple different commissioners was to caucus with the neighbors. That has not happened. I think the term was workshop. At most, we received an email a week ago and responded the next day and never heard back. So I think the efforts to try and find a harmonious solution here, there haven't been efforts of late. And, when I look at this, I'm not an attorney, but following what these folks are saying, the safety issue is real. Our roads are extremely narrow. For the past 20 years, when we have 2 cars, coming at each other head to head, people are pulling onto grass. They're pulling onto our lawn. They're pulling onto their lawn because you just can't get by. Even if they widen that road, emergency vehicles would be, I would imagine, challenging. And who's the loser there? Us, because we're 11 Meadowcrest. So you have to get down Chew and up Meadowcrest to get to us. So that's obviously a concern. The notion about which direction a house faces, well, if there's no building, I think the language was if there's no building, then it's difficult to determine. But right now, that's one lot, 3 Meadowcrest. There is a building there, and the orientation of it is clearly on Meadowcrest Road, as is the address. So logic says, hey, we can split it and then claim that there's no building there. That seems like yet another end around here to all of these different issues. Again, back to the quality of life issue, we raised the fact that, I think if we move some of these papers around. So I'll do my best here. So this is our house. This is the back of our house. Built in, I think, late 1800s, 1890-ish. Technically, this setback, I believe, is not to modern standards.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing we can do about that.
What is that setback?
I believe it's 15 feet. We actually have a small concrete slab in the back where our oil tank sits underneath it, so it goes a little bit closer. You know, this distance here does not have to be that tight. Again, they're gyrating and maneuvering this stuff to try and maximize the value of the property by putting two houses there, and the victims are, you know, we're losing sunlight, we're losing open space, we're losing all the qualities that initially brought us there. And
But your house is.
I'm sorry?
I said your house is close to the lot line.
It is.
It is.
It is
And-
close. Is that what you said? Close to the property line?
Yes.
Yes.
I recall you being here previously and discussing that.
Yes.
However, that's your house
Yes.
is close to the line.
Understood.
Which now creates, as you mentioned, the light issues and the other
It does.
quality issues. Question, did you ever, just curious, did you ever have any discussion about trying to acquire any of that land?
So the nature of the email that I received one Friday ago was proposing that. I responded the next day and said, "What do you have in mind?" and never heard back. So, I'm sorry?
I said, that's not true. I can show you the email where I replied.
I would love to see it.
Okay?
Nevertheless, that conversation has not materialized. I mean,
I'm trying to recall if it was 1 or 2 months ago. Do you recall when you were here last?
yeah, the June meeting.
Okay.
June 2nd, maybe?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I think that issue of proximity and height and sight lines that will not only affect us, will affect the buyers there too. They're going to be on top of us. I think that's one of a host of concerns here. The safety issue is real. The arbitrary, let's call this one Meadowcrest, this one Shoe, so we can get an end around and have more houses squeezed in here is yet another issue. So a whole host of issues here, and you know, we're looking at you guys to sprinkle in some common sense here, along with the legal arguments and the township obligations.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
thank you.
I have I mean, if I recall 2 meetings ago, I think I proposed the workshop idea. May I ask the applicant whether that was proposed, why it wasn't?
This has been, they have met with the neighbors previously. The neighbors do not want 2 lots. It really comes down to that. Early in the process, Mr. Slattery contacted the neighbor and inquired about an alternative to only building 1 home. Of course, that was going to involve a purchase. That was rejected. So here we are today. They've tried, Mr. Slattery's tried everything he can. There was an issue about buffering. He offered buffering. The neighbor did not want the buffering. They just don't want 2 homes there. The neighbor here talked about not having these plantings here. Mr. Slattery said, fine, I'll remove those plantings, because he wanted the open light. Again, that's not the issue. We've tried to resolve this. There's just no resolution to it. I do have some other points, but some other, I don't know if other neighbors want to.
Just one other follow-up. When the neighbor was just speaking and said that he received this email regarding a potential idea of a sale of land, is that something that's still on the table?
Absolutely. So my name is Jim Slattery. I'm the owner of this property here.
And also the owner,
And,
just
right,
remember.
this is my primary residence here. And I had made this offer to the Goldenbergs well over a year ago. It was verbal, but in just the last week or so said, and my email to them was, listen, nothing in Radnor Township is ever going to get cheaper. If you purchase this lot, which would be fine, it doesn't need to be developed. You could keep it as an empty lot until you guys retire, and then somebody could put a building up there at that point. I understand their concern. Their concern, and there's no possibility it's 15 feet here. It's probably 10 at best, where his property, his house, is right on top of this property. The other thing I did is, initially, when I first met with not first, but probably the 3rd or 4th time I met with the Goldenbergs, the garage to this house and the driveway was on this side. And Mrs. Goldenberg said she didn't really like that. So I went to the expense of having the architectural drawings changed and the plan to move the garage and the driveway to this side to help accommodate them. And once I showed them that plan, they were like, no, that's still totally unacceptable. So I did meet with my neighbor, John Tolucci, who lives in this property here. Because, and he was the one that expressed concern about, getting rid of this buffering. I said, no problem. But every time I've tried to have any kind of communication with the Goldenbergs, there's nothing that I can do on this development that's going to appease them, in my opinion.
Okay. But to the extent, if there wasn't a full discussion, you're still open to having a discussion if everyone wants to?
I'm not a builder. I just want to,
No, I'm just asking, because if there was any kind of lack of communication, you're saying you're open to discussing?
I'm totally open to it, and if you want, we can submit a copy of the emails that were there.
No,
'cause it
no,
was-
no, it's not that. I'm just asking if that is something you're still discussing.
I'd be totally fine with that.
Okay, fine. Is there anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
My name is John Tolucci. I live at 113 Chew Lane, which is this property all along here, all the way out to the road. So Jim contacted me and asked me if I wanted to meet with him to discuss this project. Of course, I said yes. So I went over to his home, and I thought we had a great, very productive discussion. He wanted to know if, I was going to back the project. And I really couldn't say yes at that time just because I wanted to talk to my wife. So I took a couple weeks because we had some issues with the project in general. We had some issues with some of the information that Jim had conveyed to us at that meeting. One being that the township would be interested in possibly buying the piece of property up here from him and making it a parking lot for the trail. We don't want that. We absolutely don't want that. I mean, talking about maintaining the integrity of our neighborhood, which is basically much private. I mean, has anyone walked our neighborhood? Have any of you walked our neighborhood? The roads are very narrow. The other thing that Jim mentioned was widening the roads along Meadowcrest and then part of this section onto Chew Lane. I'm totally against that, especially widening Chew Lane. We have enough people coming down at all hours thinking there's a shortcut, and the last thing we want to do is make it easier for them to do that. On top of that, widening that section of Chew Lane and not the rest just doesn't make sense. You're going to go from a 15-foot wide to 20. My neighbor on the other side, Dr. Glisson, is completely opposed to that as well. He doesn't want the road widened at all because then it's going to impinge on his property and his setbacks and what he can do with it. So with that being said, I got back to Jim, and basically I conveyed to him that we cannot support the two-house property or the two-house project as it's conveyed right now. And the reason for me, which really doesn't impact me, but it impacts my neighbor Andy, is I just, for the life of me, can't figure why he would want to put a house so close to Andy's house and make a buck off of it. I mean, it just doesn't sound right to me from a business standpoint. And I understand Jim's position. He wants to maximize the value, but he's doing that all at the expense of Andy and Kelly. And granted, they can't do anything about that 15-foot setback on the rear of the house. I mean, 1880s, we probably didn't even have setbacks back then. I proposed to Jim that he go with a one-house project, slide the house down, sell part of this land, not the entire lot, maybe 35 feet, to give them that 50-foot rear yard setback. In my mind, and I'm a pretty reasonable person, I thought that was a win-win. I thought everyone wins. He puts a bigger house on there. It's going to cost him less in the long run because he's not going to have all of these finishes, all these bathrooms, 2 kitchens, 2 garage, 2 generator systems, 2 stormwater management systems, which is absolutely crazy, to be honest with you. Even if you put one house on there, he doesn't need a stormwater management system in there. My neighbor at the end of the road, where is that? back down here, he's got this monster stormwater management system that picks up all of the water from all of our neighborhood. And we don't need another system in the ground. We really don't. It handles all of that water. It's huge.
So let me just ask, with regard to what your suggestion was, is that what we just discussed or no?
What?
The idea of potentially making it a one-house
I'm
design with the
behind that.
sale, with the sale to your neighbor to allow, a greater buffer between his house.
I think that's great, but I don't think my neighbor wants to buy the whole lot. And I think that's what, my understanding was that's what Jim had proposed, is buying this lot. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense unless, he changes this, pushes the whole house down. Now we don't even have to deal with the widened road because it's one house. We don't have to deal with the whole emergency access issue. And all of these little incremental changes are changing the character of the neighborhood. I mean, there's only 7 houses back there. One of the lots, as the attorney mentioned, the township's our neighbor because they bought 1 acre of ground off of me, so they're also a neighbor now. So any change that happens to the road is going to also affect the township because they have a say. Even though they have a lot and they don't have a house on it, they are still a property owner on Chew Lane. So my whole contention here is, I want to be as amicable as I can to all parties involved. I think the clear choice here is one larger home. Putting 2 houses is just going to strip the character of this neighborhood. I've lived there 32 years, and I know, Andy, his kids are growing up. Last one's, got a couple years now. My kids are growing up, but, we plan on staying here for a while. We love it.
Okay,
That's it. That's pretty much it.
thank you.
Thanks.
So, Mr. Cornelia, just on a side note, we were here 2 months ago. If there is any interest in discussing any kind of sale with a neighbor, I wish that would have been able to be had before tonight.
See, this,
I'm just
yeah.
asking,
Okay, I'm just-
because, but I'm just trying to.
the neighbor really expressed no
No,
desire.
no,
to
I
buy.
understand that.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I got it.
If that is something that, that your client is interested in, or a possibility, that would certainly seem to.
Oh, he is. I mean, he definitely is. He stated that he is, and.
I would like to ask a question.
No, sit down. Sit down.
I'm not suggesting you do it.
Yeah.
I'm just listening to the concerns, and that there was it was unclear whether discussion was still open or not.
Oh, yes, it would still be open.
Okay.
Yeah, it would still be open. Just a couple comments on going back to the legal issues. Chew Lane and Meadowcrest Road are existing roads in the township, existing private roads. All the township maps refer to Chew Lane as indicated here. They refer to Meadowcrest Road as indicated here. Actually, the township right-of-way book references both Chew Lane and Meadowcrest Road and lists them as private roads. I perhaps misspoke when I said number of homes. It is number of lots, but the number of homes here represent the number of lots. So right now, even with the addition, even with counting the house here on the corner as on both Chew and Meadowcrest, Meadowcrest only has 4 lots on it. Chew has 5 lots on it. That complies with the ordinance. As to the orientation of the home, I believe it's clear. You have the footprint there. You have a back patio, which is generally associated with a rear yard indicated here. You have a front right at this area. So I believe it's clear that the orientation is toward the rear as indicated on the plan.
Mr. Cornelia, let me just ask you
Sure.
a question. The way you're counting on this, on the map, first question is, in response to Mr. Norsini's comment earlier, is there a difference between lot and house once complete?
I believe there would be because there could be a lot without a house on it.
Where is that located?
The code says no more than 5 lots may be permitted to front on a private street. That's the saldo. So it does say lots.
I'm just saying, how is that going to be different, lot versus house? Is there going to be a lot where there isn't a house?
No. No, Mr. Nelson has stated that I had referenced house.
Okay.
When
So just-
actually I should have been referencing lot.
Okay.
But in
Just
this
semantic?
instance, it's the
Just
same.
semantic,
It's
because they're
semantic.
gonna
In this
be-
instance,
they're
it's
gonna
the
be the
same.
same.
But you could have, it's not in this instance, but
Okay.
you could have a lot without a house on it.
Understood.
Yeah.
And the way you're counting, you have 2 Chew, 2 Meadow in red and blue? Is that like either way you count them?
Yes.
Either way you count them, it's still 5 on each of the so-called streets. And Mr. Nelson's point was we should count both streets as one street,
Correct, that's his point.
and that's the only difference.
Yeah, and I believe that would be the only difference here.
Okay.
As to the definition of orientation, the zoning code states the rear lot line shall be designated as that lot line towards which the rear of the principal building is oriented. So that's the definition in the zoning code.
Okay, which it sounds like we're not really disputing, it's where's the front of the house, because wherever the front of the house is, whatever's behind it
Yeah.
is the rear.
It's really what is the rear yard?
Which one's the front of the house? Is it on Meadowcrest or is it on Chew? Is that,
Well, it's really where's the rear yard oriented, and I think it's pretty clear here, this is the rear yard, which is what we have on the plan.
okay,
Because you're right, it doesn't say opposite the front. It says where the rear yard is oriented, the code at least. But it'd be logical that it be possibly opposite the front.
okay. Yes, sir.
Just one distinction I want to make regarding this decoupling issue. Is it one street or 2 streets? I think the point was brought up by the attorney that it would come down to how do you define street, right? And I'm sure streets aren't necessarily determined by distance, but I just want to be clear, Meadowcrest, that's it. This is my drive. My driveway starts here, and this is my home. So Meadowcrest is all of this tiny little bit. And so you'd have to ask yourself, again, when logic comes into play, is that really a separate street? Or is that just a continuation? Even when you factor in the other spurs of Chew, it's tiny.
But is
So-
there a house beyond your house?
Technically not of those addresses. There is a house that would be effectively over here. I maybe might be able to see it here.
There is a house beyond his house.
Yeah.
But this is not a road. This is a Lancaster Avenue address. Their legal ingress egress is here, and they use our driveway, which starts
They have a driveway.
here. They do not have a driveway on Meadowcrest.
Your driveway? Okay.
Yeah, it's my driveway.
I guess.
It's not an easement. It's permission only. I have it in writing. It is not a legal easement at all.
Okay.
So the end of Meadowcrest Road is right there. Just wanted to make sure that's clear regarding this decoupling issue. It's
Understood.
complicated, and I do think logic does come into play. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just, again, looking at the township right-of-way book, when it references Meadowcrest, it references Meadowcrest Lane as being 345 feet in length, and it dead ends is the comment,
Okay.
again, in the right-of-way book.
Okay. Question, Do any of the commissioners have any further comments or questions? Mr. Nelson, Mr. Phillips, do you have any further comments?
There's no existing building on this property now, correct?
There-
Or is there?
There is an existing building.
There
yeah.
is an existing
And that's going to
building.
be raised.
It's going to be, okay. All right, thank you.
His mother lived there, actually. He bought it for his mother, and she's since passed.
Okay. I am going to make a motion, if there's no further comment. Okay, I'll make a motion, and then you can respond to it. The motion would be to recommend approval of application 213220 concerning 3 Meadowcrest with 3 caveats. One is that it would include a waiver for the 3 items that I outlined at the beginning, which is 255-27C1, 255-27E2, 255-22B1N. Those deal with the right-of-way, with the width and alignment of the right-of-way. And the third one deals with the 500 feet items on the plans. The second condition would be grading for the sidewalk if that were ever to be determined by the township. And the third would be for a waiver. And Mr. Nelson, I want to make sure I get this right. Of the 2 items that you mentioned, one has to do with a waiver and one would be a zoning issue if that were determined.
Yes, so the waiver, I think what you discussed with me before the meeting was that the approval would be conditioned upon the granting of a waiver to section 255-27.5,
E1.
or E1,
Okay,
to the extent that a waiver is needed.
exactly. So to the extent that a waiver is needed for that section, that would be part of it. With regard to the other issue, which is a zoning issue, as I understand, under zoning code 280-4, the definition of a yard, that's something that is not covered by this. It's not something that's on the table. It's not something that's in the review letters. It's not something that's been identified as being an issue. So it's not part of this motion.
You can, you can adopt your motion to approve without any mention of that, yea or nay of that particular item. Like you said, it's not on any of the review letters at this time.
Exactly. Okay. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Is that 3 in favor and 2 opposed?
That's correct, opposed.
Okay. Okay, the motion passes. Mr. Cornelia, to the extent that your client and the neighbor wish to have a discussion about changing the plan, about selling a portion of the property, I would, suggest that be done expeditiously.
I would agree.
Okay.
It'd be probably the Board of Commissioners to be the middle of this month for caucus, so it would be important for them to talk.
May I suggest something? I know we're officially voted, but I do empathize with the owner of the property who is entitled to economic, gains from owning this property. But to ask your neighbor to purchase the property almost feels like a tax on him to have a buffer. Would there be any opposition to allowing this neighbor to maybe extend his home or build an accessory dwelling unit, for example, for a in-law suite or something like that, so that there's at least some value to this purchase that you would make?
We wouldn't have an objection to it, I believe. But again, that would be a township decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's something that would be allowed under zoning. They could always ask for a variance, but I don't think we have specific provisions regarding accessory dwelling units of that type. I don't even think we mention in-law suites, to be honest.
Yeah, you can't have two kitchens, basically, without zoning approval.
Well, perhaps that could be part of the discussions and negotiations, and you can come before the planning commission to ask for a package.
Yeah, it would be the zoning, yeah. It'd have
Yeah.
to go to zoning probably if that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can discuss it. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Can I
Yes, sir.
just clarify?
Please.
I don't love this plan, but I have a hard time when people have complied with the code, denying the right to, once they comply, denying your right to develop the property. And I don't like the plan. As an architect, I wouldn't like this if somebody handed it to me. I'm troubled by, in many ways, the discussion around the idea that they should do something different when they've complied with the code.
My understanding is that they've not complied with the code because this is a private street, and the statute is written in a way for life safety, fire safety reasons. And so this is just too many units on a private street that's not engineered for fire trucks or ambulances or whatever it is. There is also a possibility, maybe there's a precedent in a township where we've actually converted a private street to a public street and engineered it as such, but it sounds like to me from the neighbors here that they have no desire to do that.
So, I mean, in all fairness, as far as what's going on, the road is what it is, and they are, to a degree, improving it and widening it. It certainly needs to be remedied anyway, because it's in both of them are in somewhat rough condition. But it's adding one unit. It's not like adding a whole bunch of units. So, to whatever safety issue exists, it exists currently. There are aspects of the plan that will improve it. There's an aspect of the plan to add another home, which won't improve it. As far as the neighbor issue goes, again, I would have hoped it would have been optimal, that if those discussions could have been fully had, and maybe they still can be had, and to see if there's any kind of way that people can resolve those differences and make it a win for everyone. But I understand all of what is being set up on the board. It's a tough call.
I think these issues are in the ambiguity of the code. The code needs to be sorted out and clarified. And as an architect, we run into that all the time with codes. And when somebody can take advantage of it, they will take advantage of it. But the code should be clarified. And every time we bump into this, hopefully someone's taking a note and trying to figure out how to sort out the code so it is a little more clear.
Mm-hmm.
The front yard, rear yard, primary front. Those are kind of issues that have been sorted out by other townships, by other municipalities. And City of Philadelphia is pretty clear that there's a primary front and a secondary one if you're on a corner. So it would be good to, I know the code, these things come up and they need to get sorted out, but kind of not our job to sort it out. It's our job to kind of point them out. I think that's a good thing. But
It's certainly one that we could not resolve this evening.
no.
Yes, sir.
So forgive me, I need a primer on exactly what happens now. So I understand you guys voted 3-2. I would take no comfort in us being the catalyst to fix this silly, loophole. You just said people are going to profit from it, and then we become the ones who lose, and then you guys decide to take it up and fix it. Okay, that doesn't help us. So I want to understand, what is my recourse now as a
Sir?
resident? Yes.
Sir, this is an advisory body.
Yes.
So they're advising the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
They're your elected officials.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners will hear this matter twice.
Okay.
They hear, the first time, it's called a caucus.
Yep.
They'll discuss it then. They will not vote. Based on that discussion, they will then, usually the next meeting, will then vote on it, either to approve, disapprove, approve conditions. So what you need to do is keep an eye on the website or call the township to find out when it's on caucus, and for you and your neighbors to show up and discuss it, at that point in time.
Got it. So this is basically a preliminary step to get to that point?
Yes.
Understood.
Yeah, under the state law, the state law recommends that the planning commission review all these developments and then give recommendations to the elected body.
I appreciate that. And now, the issue, the core issue for us is more the decoupling than it is the orientation of the property. I mean, they're all related, but I want to just, someone will have to make the determination that this is in fact 2 streets, not 1 street, in order for this plan to proceed. Is that reasonably accurate?
Yes, so there'll probably be a similar discussion in front of the Board of Commissioners, and then they're going to have to decide whether, there's basically 2 decisions for them to make. One, is it something where they're not complying with this requirement of no more than 5 lots on a private street?
Yeah.
If they do determine that they're not meeting that requirement, the applicant can ask for what's called a waiver.
Sure.
And that waiver is granted by the Board of Commissioners. So the Board of Commissioners could make that determination saying, yeah, you're exceeding it, but we're going to grant a waiver. But it's the Board of Commissioners who would make that determination.
There's discretion at that point. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to be clear, frustrating situation, of course. I don't hold anybody here personally responsible for their findings or anything like that. So it's a passionate issue. It's a lifestyle issue. It's the integrity of the neighborhood where our kids have grown up issue. It's a financial issue. It's all of these things. So a lot of emotions, and again, we're coming at it, some laymen trying to figure out the best way to navigate this and utilize the proper procedure. So thank you.
Also, Mr. Goldenberg, just to clarify, and Mr. Nelson can correct me, but had we voted 3-2 in favor of denying this, it still would have gone in front of the Board of Commissioners, just with our recommendation to deny, and then they would still actually make the final decision. So this is just an advisory decision. Mr. Nelson, correct me if you.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you could vote 9-0 against it, and the board could still approve it. You could vote 9-0 to approve it, and the board could deny it, yes. The board is under no compulsion to follow whatever the recommendation is.
Thank you all again.
Here's another idea, I was just thinking through, is that you have some open land, and as well as, I don't know where the township owns the other piece of land that someone commented on, but somehow you may be able to combine the 2 pieces and just keep that land open as some sort of keeping an open trust.
Just for the purposes of that point and clarity on it. So, real short history lesson. This house, our house, was the carriage house. Our neighbor with the Lancaster Avenue address, the structure that still stands, that does not have an easement but has the access from Lancaster, was the barn. And the original home, which was still there, standing when we bought our property 21 years ago, that property is owned by the township. I think there were squatters there. Within the first year of us owning it, they leveled the house. So that piece of property is this over here. So it's, and that is I presume, a Lancaster Avenue address. So sort of part of the neighborhood, but it's not connected to either Chew or Meadowcrest. So I wish that was a solution. What I don't know is exactly where the parcel of land that Mr. Tolucci sold to the township, I think is down this way. I don't know how that affects the number of lots on the street, nor do I know whether there's any, I wouldn't think there's any possibility for expansion or whatever, but I certainly appreciate the thinking in that direction.
That
Yeah.
could be a creative solution
Yeah.
to everything here.
Of course. We're open to creative solutions, so thank you.
Okay. So with that, I don't believe we have any old business or new business, and would call for a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. The next scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission is September 2, 2025. Good night.
Thank you.